Support for this podcast comes from listeners and St. Alphonsus Health System, a regional network of hospitals, clinics, and care providers. St. Alphonsus offers comprehensive healthcare services to individuals and families throughout the community. More information about services and locations is available at stalphonsus.org.
From Boise State Public Radio, this is The Connector. It's Idaho's Daily News. Good morning. I'm George Prentice. This morning, we've got some pretty interesting stories for you. We'll tell you about a blue ribbon panel of architects, developers, and realtors talking about, well, what else? Housing over at the State House. And we'll also tell you about a pending shortage of Catholic priests in East Idaho. It is Monday, the 27th of October, and here we go. Two unique pieces of land, one in the middle of a Boise neighborhood, another a part of the foothills, will be put before the Boise City Council this week, which will decide if those lands, now private, can be public. Jackson Holmes reports.
One of the proposed properties is a small lot in a neighborhood in southwest Boise. If approved, the 5th-acre piece of land would become a pocket park. The idea was first brought to the city by a resident of the neighborhood. When Wanda Furman learned the current owner, Veolia Water, was looking to sell the land, she started a petition to turn it into a public park.
I submitted the signatures to the city, and I submitted it to the realtor who was representing Veolia. And I don't know what happened there. It was magic.
In addition to submitting the petition to the city, Furman brought the idea to a city council town hall. Kathy Corliss represents Furman's district and says Furman's proposal was a breath of fresh air.
To me, that's the connection we're absolutely looking for. Meeting with our constituents, having new ideas, and then turning that into action.
The area is a former water well site. Veolia has agreed to transfer the property to the city in exchange for developing a drinking water well in Manitou Park. Boise City Council will vote on the approval of this land transfer, as well as the donation of a 44-acre piece of the foothills during Tuesday's council meeting. Jackson Holmes, Boise State Public Radio News.
Housing remains one of the most debated issues across the state, and this year the legislature created a unique subcommittee to consider housing and land use. Friday, they met for the 5th time, and as they have in May, June, August, and September, Friday's gathering included leadership from across Idaho.
You know, we're dealing with, obviously, and start with explosive growth, but we're also dealing with fatigue, right? Fatigue of the growth and the challenges that are faced with that.
And that is the mayor of Star, Trevor Chadwick, also on the panel. State lawmakers. Here's Democratic Senator Ali Rabi of Boise and GOP Senator Ben Tays of Coeur d'Alene.
If we allow for more gentle density, that is going to cost our infrastructure systems less over time, as opposed to sprawl, which is the other option.
Idahoans want their children to be able to afford to buy their own homes and stay in Idaho.
And there's representation from rural Idaho. Here's Valley County Commissioner Sherry Maupin.
Short-term rental legislation changed our world. It took away the local control that we need in order to be successful in our local areas. It destroyed housing in Valley County, and I don't know how we're going to overcome it until we have a little bit more control.
And again, this panel has met 5 times over the summer and early fall. The panel also includes architects, developers, and realtors. They will all be crafting a full report for the full legislature to consider when it returns in January. With the current federal government shutdown approaching a full month, last week, many federal workers missed their first paycheck since the shutdown began. Yet a good many of those workers have chosen to remain on the job without pay. In north-central Idaho at the Lewiston-Nez Perce Airport, they have started a food drive to help local TSA employees who are working without pay. A drop-off station has been set up in the terminal to accept food and other essential items. There are about 10,900 federal employees in Idaho. Now to East Idaho, where Catholic parishes are facing the possibility of a priest shortage. The State Journal is reporting that a letter to local congregations is cautioning that their priests, because they are foreign-born and are facing concerns over their visas, may soon have to leave the U.S. There are 11 priests covering one of the diocese regions in that area, the Idaho-Utah border area, which extends west to American Falls and north to Salmon. Of those 11 priests, 5 risk losing their visas due to a change in federal law limiting the number of visas available. The Boise State football team has solidified its hold on the Mountain West Conference lead with a big win on the road this past weekend over Nevada, 24-3. The Broncos began the season with a rough start, but they are now 6-2 and 4-0 in conference play. This most recent win over Nevada was all about Broncos defense with 3 interceptions and the recovery of 2 fumbles. Here's head coach Spencer Danielson.
Are we perfect? No, but we're growing. If you take those turnovers off the board, or let's say defense gives up some touchdowns here and there, it's a whole different football game. So that's a good team win.
So right now, mid-season, Boise State is now eligible, on track to be bowl eligible. And if indeed that's the case at the end of the season, it will be nearly 30 straight years for the Broncos of being bowl eligible.
We stand on the shoulders of decades, more than decades, almost 3 decades of coaches and players that are blue collar. Team is always greater than me. That's what's built Boise State. I had absolutely nothing to do with that. But I am blessed to be a part of a program that has that inbred in its culture. And it's my job to make sure we grow that every single day, because culture is what you allow.
Up next for the Broncos, they'll be at home this coming Saturday afternoon when they take on Fresno State. Kickoff at Albertson Stadium on Saturday will be 1:30 p.m. And that is today's episode of The Connector. I'm George Prentice. We'll be back here on Tuesday. And of course, you can stay in touch anytime on our website. It's boisestatepublicradio.org. Tell your friends and family about The Connector and how they can find it anywhere they find their favorite podcasts. But for now, from me to you, thanks for listening.
The stories don't stop when this podcast does. Boise State Public Radio's Instagram gives you reels, updates, and snapshots from our reporters in the field. Follow Boise State Public Radio on Instagram today.